Hey guys, welcome to the show. And I did a buying guide about Hasselblad 500 cameras, or the V series. And I'm here at the Film Photo Fair with Camera Store, and they have a lot of interesting different cameras. So we're going to do a buying guide on Hasselblad rare cameras. So when you want to buy a Hasselblad, most people think of the 500C M sort of model, but here on the table we have all the different models. So they're not all made by Hasselblad. We have the X-Pan, which is known to be made by Fuji, but everything else is made by Hasselblad. So if you're using super wide, you want to go with something like the super wide. This is the SWC 903. It's a 38 Biogon. It uses the same backs. They all use the same backs except for the X-Pan, which is 35. Uses the same backs. It's a 38mm fixed lens. It has a viewfinder, and this is the whole setup. We did a whole shooting video outdoors, so that will be posted separately. But this is one of the best wide-angle cameras you can buy. It's a Biogon 38mm. Then we have the technical cameras. So when you're talking about technical cameras, let's say sort of like a mini 4x5, and the first one that came out was the Flex Body. So the Flex Body is a Hasselblad back, let's say, so we have a focusing screen set up right now. Then we have bellows, and then we have a Hasselblad mount for the lenses. So these lenses are compatible with all the usual C, CT, CB, CF lenses. So as you can see here, we have a 50 CFI on, so you can use those normal lenses with the back end movements. So these movements are done on these little knobs that we have on the side. So this one is tilting and this one is shift. So you can shift vertical up and down, so rise and fall, and then you have the tilt. The problem with this camera is these lenses were designed for a 6x6 image. So the moment you do especially crazy movements, you're gonna run out of circle. So there's a specific lenses that work better on the Flex Body, but it doesn't give you a whole lot of creative control. If you're gonna be cropping on the 6x6, then you're fine. But if you want to use the whole 56mm by 56, then the Flex Body is not the best option. So it's a mini, and then you have the focusing here too. It's basically a mini technical camera. But then Hasselblad thought, let's do something that will work with more options, and they came out with the Arc Body. So this is the last technical camera made by Hasselblad, and the Arc Body, as you can see, is very similar to the Flex Body, but it does use specific large format lenses adapted to Hasselblad mount. This is a 45 4.5 lens, which I don't know if you guys can read there in detail, but that's a 45, and you can see it has a copal shutter. It's not the usual Hasselblad lens. And then we have the Hasselblad back in here, so it has a protective cover. You can see you can add the ground glass focusing, and you can add your A12 backs. For example, I can take the A12 back from the super wide and just put it onto the Arc Body. If I can make it work, yeah, there we go. So basically, as you can see, they're all interchangeable, which is one of the best things about Hasselblad. And you have the knobs here, which I found that are annoying, because to tighten, you have to turn it clockwise, and then you can do the movements, which is, this is the tilt, and then this is the rise and fall. I don't know if you guys can tell, but this moves down, and this moves up. And then what happens is the circle on these lenses is so much bigger. So you can actually do a lot of creative stuff with these. There was a 35 and a 45 lens. They use special degraded, like darkened ND circular lens filters. So it doesn't darken, because it is an extreme wide angle for 6x6. And you have your bubble, you have a little carrying thing. But basically, it's a technical Hasselblad camera. These, as I said, you can release them, and it's a Hasselblad mount, as you can see, but it's adapted, it's adapted to Hasselblad. And this, you could also use a normal lens, but you want to be using these specific Arc Body lenses, which are the ones that will give you full coverage and movements. But they operate just like a large format camera, not like the usual Hasselblad. And last but not least, we have the famous X-Pan, which I consider to not be so much of a Hasselblad camera, because it was made by Fuji, shoots 35, which is the only 35mm camera Hasselblad made. This is the Expand 1, which you can tell because it just doesn't say Expand 2 in red here. And the Expand 2, not only does it have the display here for the information in the frame and the aperture, but you can also see it through the viewfinder, which is much nicer. These are getting more popular by the day. It's basically a medium format lens, but that's why it's a 45 f4 lens that shoots, 24 by 65, as you can see, format on 35 millimeter film, and it gives you that panoramic look that a lot of people like. It's not much bigger than a Leica camera, but it shoots huge pictures, and it does around 20 per roll. And the Expand 2 is basically the same, but with those added small features that make it much nicer. So as you can see, there's much more to Hasselblad than just the normal 500 CM or V series. All these technical cameras are now available at camerastore.com. They're pretty rare to see them all together. That's why we talked about making this video, so you guys could see the arc body runs for quite a bit of money, but it's the best technical camera you want to use with Hasselblad. And then if you're trying to do the wide shots and you need something wide, that SWC just doesn't get any better. They sold it for the price of a body you would get a lens. So instead of buying a 40 mil that distorts, this 38 doesn't show any distortion at all. And it's very fun to use, kind of a point and shoot 6x6 ultra wide. So yeah, guys, that's all for this buying guide. If you have any questions about these special and rare cameras from Hasselblad, you just leave a comment below. Thank you to Camera Store for making this possible during this fair, and I hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next video.